finally got us project car for SGS Automotive. We're going to do a mini series and we're going to rebuild this car, do all the work it needs doing and get it into a position where we can sell it. So as you can see inside, it's been a builder's car. He's used it for getting to work and back. So it needs a really good clean. It is really dirty inside, but that's nothing we can't sort out. Start off with damage on the front wing and a flat front tyre. And as we work our way around it, it's not too bad body wise. It's got some scratches on the back bumper. Again, nothing too bad. It's got a small dent on the rear arch. You can see it there. Some paint missing on the rear door handle. Another flat front tyre. We're hoping that it hasn't got broken rims, as in cracked rims from impact. Hopefully it's just two punches. Some scratches on the front bumper as well. And an engine bay that really needs a clean. It's got 180k on the clock. It needs some work, obviously it needs a clutch and flywheel, which is the main thing. And then an MOT, and then we'll see what else it can. Tonight we've started doing the first work on the Audi, the project car for SGS Automotive. Both front tyres have been sat flat for a few days, so we decided to get them sorted. So if you leave them flat too long, it'll end up damaging the tyres. We've taken the first one off, and I think we've found the leak. So we're going to take the tyre off, clean all the rim up, and hopefully get that back sealed up again. So we can see there's no damage to the tyre. So basically, we need to clean the rim up. Now what we're going to use is a little Scotch Brite on a buffing wheel. Now as you can see, the rim's cleaning up nicely, and what we're doing is removing all that corrosion, which is what we're letting it leak. Now we are going to have the wheels reconditioned on this car eventually, but I want to get the clutch and flywheel done and the other things done, get it to an MOT, get it to a point where it's a decent car again, then we'll do the finishing touches like reconditioning the wheels. So for now, we're going to clean it up and see. Now, as you can see, we've cleaned up all the back half of the rim. We are also going to use some bead seal. Just to make sure it seals. We'll just put a thin coating of this all the way around. Probably doesn't really need this, with us cleaning all the corrosion off, but it just means that these tyres are definitely going to stay up for now until we get to the point of reconditioning. Hoping that the other front wheel is just the same problem, because it's a nice easy fix for now. So that's a coating of that the whole way around. just going to dry off the inside edge. See if we can get this back on without using tyre soap on the back, which it has, so that that will seal nicely with the bead seal. Obviously it's positive that there was no cracks in the rim. Without checking, I believe it should be about 34 psi in these. This is what I'm going to put in for now. So we've got 34 in that. That now should all be sealed. We will give it a quick check just to make sure. As you can see, we're not getting any bubbles anymore. Looking slightly less sorry for itself as it's got air in both front tyres. The flywheel is that bad on this, I didn't want to start it and move it unnecessarily, so I've literally worked in a puddle to do the other front wheel. The only time this will get started, and I may even push it in instead of running it when we're doing the clutch and flywheel, because the flywheel is that bad, I don't want it to let go and end up coming out through the gearbox. But it's the first job's done. The tyres are now holding air. There's many things we're going to do to this. I'll probably go too far. I'm looking at the calipers now and thinking we can recondition those and powder coat them a nice colour, tidy up the brakes, paint all the centre bells on the brake discs. Same with the rear calipers, and with the wheels reconditioned and a good clean and polish and buff, bits of bodywork done, dents sorted, it'll make a really nice motor again. Today we've gone round with the orange pen to mark up any areas that need PDR work. So as you can see, there's a few on that front corner, nothing around the back, 3 little dents on the rear quarter, and that's about covered for PDR. So we'll add a video later on in the series where the PDR tech's out and he will come round and do all the dents, and we'll show you how that's done. We're going to start the job of cleaning the inside up a little bit. As you can see, it needs a good clean. So we're going to move all the things out of the back and out of the front into the boot, ready for the guy to come and collect what he needs out of there, and then we can give it a good clean. So you can see we're still looking fairly bad, even once we've cleared out all the rubbish. The mats have been thrown, they are no good. When we get the cash over on the go, as I say, the mats are going in the bin, there's got a hole in them, we'll get new mats. We're obviously going to have to take the seats out, because you can see underneath everything is just absolutely caked in dust. This is going to take some cleaning, but we'll give it a good makeover. Now, we found these tornado guns to be a really good tool in helping get into little gaps and crevices and get things clean. We'll see how it works in here. Now, the downside of these tornado guns is every time you use it around the area you have to hoover and it creates a mess again. But after 2 or 3 goes you get everything out from the gaps and corners that's loose. Then you can hoover it all up and it does make a lot better job. Now, I've valeted some cars in my time and I find it quite therapeutic and I enjoy cleaning them. But this has probably got to be one of the worst I've done. I mean, look at this dust that's coming up out of the floor carpet. That's been hoovered and looked fairly clean, and then using a tornado on it, and my god, this is bad. This took 5-6 attempts at blowing it out, hoovering, and obviously this put a load of mess over the rest of the car. So I was going back and forth and hoovering everywhere, but eventually we got it something like. So we're on to the final footwell. We've worked his way around, did the rear first, then moved into the driver's, and obviously then into passenger footwell. I mean, we've spent an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours so far on getting the carpets clean, and we've still got the seats to do, all the plastics to wipe down. Luckily, we're not going to have to take the seats out because the little tornado gun that we've been using, it allows you to blow it under all the seat rails and under the seats. It does create the mess going around the car, which you have to re-hoover a number of times. But I think it's a quicker thing to do than taking the seats out, and still allows you to do a proper cleaning job. And even with the seats out, you'd still have to use a tornado gun to get the deep ingrained dust and muck out the carpet. So you're going to create the mess and have to hoover the same number of times. The only difference is you're going to be spending time taking the seats out. We're now going to use the Autosmart Tornado gun, which also has liquid in there, so we use Brisk. That one is like a refresher, cleaner, so it helps to rejuvenate and get rid of any bad smells, but also the detergent liquid also helps to do a bit of a deeper clean than just using the air. Obviously the parcel shelf, once you've used the liquid, it comes up really well. It's not perfect, the shelf's not in brilliant condition, but it certainly looks a lot better than it did. So before we start to wet back the seats to get rid of all the stains,
We're going to wipe down all the plastics, all the door cards, all the central plastics, centre console, back of the seats. There's a good layer of dust all over them, especially from using the Tornado to clean the carpets. And I really want to get rid of all the surface dust out the car, and then we can work on giving the seats a good wet vac, and then that will be a reasonable basic clean to start with. We'll get the rest of the work done that the car needs doing, get the MOT done, and then we'll do a final valet at that point. But as it is, it's getting it to a stage where I'm happy to sit in it. Before you got in it and got out dirtier than before you got in, even in your work clothes. As it is now, it's looking a lot better, and I can't wait to get this finished. Now there is some marks on the door cards. Obviously it's been a builder's car and he's used it for work, putting tools in, so there's marks on the door cards, broken speaker grill on the driver's rear, various little things like that. But I'm going to try and get as many things replaced and repaired as we can. The value of the car has got a ceiling. It's got 180,000 on the clock. It's going to have a new clutch and flywheel in it and various other things. So it's going to be a good car to buy when it's done, and we'll make it as good as we can. But we will have to draw a line somewhere on the things that we're repairing and replacing. Now when we started wet backing the seats, you can see they're coming up well. We're using the Karsha Puzzy. Really good tool. I've had it probably 10 years now, not used it very much, but I've recently got it out and got it set back up again. It's really good. It gets a lot of the dirt out and it cleans better. It gets rid of smells as well, so it leaves a nice fragrance in there. We've got the proper Karsha tablets for using it. You can see it's still leaving a few stains on there, so we get the Automotive Tornado gun on those, the wet one, and that actually removes the stains and then allows us to go back over with this, and it gives us a nice clean seat. Again, they just need to dry out now. There's also a few marks in the leather seats where I'm guessing tools have been sat on them, especially on the rear seats where the leather's been stretched. So I'm going to try an old trick of getting a steam iron on those, and the steam generally tightens the leather up and gets rid of the creases and the marks. So I'll hopefully have that in the video as well later on in the series. So I've just got the Automotive Tornado set up again with the fluid turned on full. Basically, you just go over the stain a few times, the air blasts the fluid in, and what the wet vac can't do, this will generally remove. Not had anything other than maybe glues and super glues that I've not been able to get out previously. But this has worked, as you can see. The stain's gone, we get the wet vac back on it, and we're good to go to the next seat. So we're coming to the end of what is approximately a 4-hour interior valet at this moment in time. Obviously we've wet backed all the seats, it's been quite a thorough clean, it needed it though, but we've got the car to a point where the interior now looks reasonable. It's going to have another valet to finish off, the leather will all get treated, everything will get cleaned in the crevices, so we'll go round all the dash gaps with a brush and things like that. Just finish off and give it some final detailing, so the interior will actually look 95% of what it should do. Obviously there's some marks and some bits of damage on door cards, the odd nick in the seats and things like that. Those kind of things are expected on a car of this age, but what we want to do is make the car at a standard that when somebody comes to look at it, they're happy to buy it, knowing the mileage, knowing the age and knowing the condition. And it's only going to be a couple of grand car, it's not going to be anything extravagant, but it will give somebody a decent car that's quite high spec, and hopefully they'll be happy with it.
Final thing we're going today, split door seals. We're using the Seachem CE10 flexible bonder. It's really difficult to do this with one hand, but I'm going to try. So you just add a line of your flexible bonder along where the seals come apart. All this is quite difficult with one hand filming, and then I use a ruler to hold it in position. It goes off pretty quickly, that's already taken, you see. And no longer a loose flappy door seal. Another tidy up job. Got a little bit seeping out there. Let's clean that up. As you can see, seal's attached again. Just a little tidy up job. We do use some Seachem CE113 accelerator, which you lift the edge up and you spray that along the outer edge, and then just to send it off you just use your Milwaukee heat gun, because your activator only works once it's dried. So once that has then dried off, you can then put the line on like we did, press it down, and again if you use a ruler, helps you get it in a straight line. If you push it on with your fingers, you'll find it can end up wiggly sometimes, whereas if you push it with a straight line, you can get it in the right position. And that is the door seal all repaired. The aftermath of a 3-hour cleaning session. As you can see, there is a massive difference. We've wet backed all the seats, all the carpets have been cleaned. The rear has had all the seats wet backed, and we're going to steam the leather to make that go back to shape, so that'll look sweet soon. As you can see, there's some general marks on backs of the panels and on the door cards, which there's nothing we can do about. We may get door cards and tidy it up a little bit more, but as you can see, it is a totally different car to what we started with 3 hours ago. It's been some hard graft. My old knees are creaking. The wind is blowing in seeds. But in general, we're now looking a whole lot better than what we were. There's some final cleaning. Things like that mark on the dash we'll get off at a later date with some tar and glue remover. We've got to be a bit more intricate in us cleaning, but what I wanted to do was get the bulk of it, something like, just to show some progress. So we're coming into Sunday evening and I've decided to make a start on the clutch on the Audi. While we're doing the clutch, we thought it was a good idea to put the battery on charge, car's been stood for a few months and not been used, and then it's come up to us and stood for a few more weeks. So it's always a good idea to charge the battery. It's come up straight away more or less at 83%. So it's not too bad, but obviously a good idea to put it on charge while we're doing the rest of the work.
Now I don't normally do clutches, so I'm having a good look around this one. I try to avoid jobs that are difficult. Not lazy, but I'm really busy in the workshop, so we've got plenty of work on, so I don't need to take jobs on where I'm having to lug gearboxes on and off cars, but obviously this being the project car, I'm going to have to do it. So this is a 2 litre diesel. It's not a clutch that I've done before. It turned out to be quite an easy one, to be honest, but obviously I'm having a good look around the engine bay, seeing what I need to take off. Having not done one before, I didn't want to dive in and start taking things off I didn't need to, but it turns out once you've got the battery tray out, you can pretty much see everything, and it's a nice easy job.
So as you can see, we've got the gear linkages off, tied them up out of the way. Also got the battery tray out, basically stripped everything off the top. Now I'm going to take the starter motor off.
Now when I said we'd take the starter motor off, I didn't expect to find what we did.
Not looking good. Starter motor teeth are absolutely destroyed. So we're going to have to replace the starter motor on this one as well. The list goes on. Go underneath, unbolt the shafts, take the wheels off, take the shafts out. We should have the box off fairly quickly. Alright, we're going to drain the oil out. Let's see what the oil comes out like. Let's hope it's not too bad. It's going to get replaced anyway, but oil looks fine. No metal filings in the oil, which is good. We've now got the gearbox off, and look at the play in that flywheel. It definitely needed a new one. So we'll get the new clutch and flywheel fitted, get the box back on, and that's another job done. We've now got the clutch and flywheel back on and the boxes back on. I didn't get any video of the clutch and flywheel with the box off, because one of the lads from one of the units come down just to give us an hand to lift the box on, and the box was on before I remembered to do the filming. But the box is on, we're just waiting for the new starter motor to land, and then we'll get everything bolted back up and she'll be back down on the ground running with a good new clutch and flywheel in. We've mentioned before, the teeth are totally chewed on the old starter motor. So here, I have a new one, with nice new teeth on it. So that's another piece of the puzzle done. Got everything built back up now. New starter motor on it, new clutch and flywheel in. Just got the top to build up. Wheels are in, shafts are in, all the bottom half's done. Soon be built up and done. To be. It's done 178,000, but it pulls alright and it doesn't smoke, so it's not a bad little car. Now I'm happy with the new clutch and flywheel, it's driving lovely. A bit more work to do to it. Like I say, I've ordered all the seal kits for the calipers, so we're going to take the calipers off and we're going to refurbish all the calipers and powder coat them. The wheels are going to be reconditioned. I'm going to
on with that. So we may have the odd video in this mini-series that's a sponsored video. We're also going to be doing some bodywork on it. It'll be a nice clean car when it's done. Plenty of life left in it yet. The bodywork needs tidying in various places. I need to do a deep clean on the exterior to see what needs doing. Dentman's going to come and do all the PDI work. Once the PDI work's done and I've given it a buff, then we can look at what needs doing. And we need a glove box because the glove box doesn't stay shut. That's annoying me. But it's driving nicely, so we're going to get back to the shop. And we're done for the day. And it's nice to have the car back done to a point where I can drive it again. It's stuck on my ramp since Sunday night, but we're getting there and it's not looking too bad at all. And it's driving nice, no issues. The rattle of the flywheel's gone, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll go through an MOT. For my OCD, we will be doing a wheel alignment on it. I mean, we'll be doing one anyway to make sure it drives nice and straight, but the steering wheel's slightly off to the right, and that just plays havoc with my OCD. Right, that's us done for the day. We're back at the shop. Thanks for watching.
We've got Ross here from Dentinator to do the PDI work today. You can see the worst thing was on the wing, but there's various things around the car. Top of the driver's door, a couple of little things on the bonnet. But we're now getting to a point where the next stage of this, tidying up the bodywork, can be done. A little bit on the bottom of the door and quite a few on the rear quarter.
Yeah, perfect. Right, let's see how we should start it. So, there's two ways I could sort of start it. I could either polish it, which I'm probably going to do actually, only very lightly, just to get rid of some of the scuffage. You know, I'm going to do it by hand as well because I'm lazy. Do it that way, and then it gives you a clearer view of what you're actually dealing with and any imperfections and stuff. Ooh, maybe a bit much. And a lot of this will just rub straight off. And also, if you use your polisher on it, generally you can't get a polisher into that gap, so it's easier just to get in with your hand and give it a good rub off as best you can. Down here.
And get rid of my orange chalk pen.
Yeah, clean all that off, because what it leaves you with is a lot clearer view on what's actually going on. Because you've got, obviously your body line's flat there, completely near enough. As you start to bring that back up, well, it's scuffed right on the body line, so it'll be a case of get behind it, get a bit of heat on it, heat this up, push that line back. It is slightly curved in on the edge as well, but we'll deal with that later.
I'm anticipating I'll probably need to paint it anyway.
Well, ideally.
Potentially. But I suppose once you've got it straight, it may buff up and be passable.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, with there's not really too much actual paint damage. A lot of it does look to be transfer. So you've got a couple of spots there and there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Get some heat on it. The first sort of initial pushes. Luckily, because it's so bent, there's actually a nice gap in the liner to squeeze my tool into. I don't even have to wedge it open. So these first sort of pushes are probably going to be a bit sort of going to be a bit sort of violent, because I'm going to have to be quite strong with it, but they might just be instantly, it's just wanting to come back out to where it should be. It's just a case of not pushing it in one spot and having it absolutely burst out and tighten itself up. You want that metal to sort of free up, you don't want it to... There's a lot of dent men that would start And what they'll do is, they'll straight away, they'll be sitting there, they'll get the blending hammer out, they'll start tapping that top crown to, they say, free it up. But if you start straight away by tapping this, all that metal's going to move. It's going to move wherever it wants to move. It won't, some of it will go into there and free it up a bit, but you're always better off pushing it out first and then after focusing on the crown, because that metal could move anywhere and you want it to move into that specific spot, so you've got to get it out a little bit to then move that metal. Otherwise it'll just be a nightmare, and I just, every time I've ever tried to do it that way around, it's always ended up ruining the job. So for me, it's a case of get it roughly the right shape, get it into the position you want it, and then move that metal, because it'll want to go to where it should be then, instead of just going here, there and everywhere. You know, you want it to move onto the line and sort of free everything up. So let's get that a little bit more. If you look at that now, compared to what we were a minute ago, that's all sort of back roughly where it should be. Now you can actually focus on freeing that metal up, because it sort of knows roughly where it is, you know. This, actually there's a bit of a high there, but I don't know, the line started to come back to where it should be roughly. Once you start moving that metal, that'll free everything up. And you could actually polish it a bit more now, which I might do in a minute, but I'll just push a bit more of this metal up, and then I can start getting onto a bit of tapping and actually start to blend that metal back to the right shape.
While you're doing that, do you want a coffee van?
Yeah,
I'll
go on then, yeah.
I'll be back in 5.
So what I'm also going to do is, because my hand hurts because I'm levering off it all the time, good trick, get that around there, and then not killing my hand. Well, I still am, but it's less bad. Can actually get a sort of tool for it, but just use a cloth. Right, so the essentials.
Do you have any sugar, Ross?
No sugar please. Thank you. Over around this side, flip that over. What you start to see is it's starting to sort of take its shape now. It'll actually start to want to move a lot easier. It'll free it all up. All that metal's roughly where it should be, so it'll move nicely. You can actually start to shape it and do them sort of fine touches. And like I say, a lot of people would start by tapping that crown down. As soon as you do that, it just ruins it. So you're best sticking to it. Push it out as much as you can. pull this board down close in, and I can actually see what I'm looking at. What I will do in a minute again is I'll actually polish it up, but this time I'll actually use the polisher. Now it's a bit flatter. Because again, if you start polishing it straight away with a machine polisher, you're never going to get into all the little gaps, and all you're doing is taking unnecessary paint off, you know what I mean? You're cutting through that paint for no reason, so you better wait until it's roughly the right shape, and then it actually cuts quite nice. Which I'll probably do in a minute. Also, I'm lucky with this being steel, it moves nice and easy. It wants to go back to how it should have been. You know, even the edges started to. There's definitely a bit of kinkage going on this edge across here. This has started to fold up, you know, from the impact. But it is actually starting to get back to the same shape. And back here as well. I mean, it sort of bowed out all here. Actually caused a bit of a high down here, all from that impact of that in there, and it pushed it out there. So do that first, finish that, get that mint, then work on this, because it'll want to just naturally sort of throw towards there.
One coffee.
Thank you. Do you get bored of using your machine then?
It's broke at the minute.
Is it?
Yeah, I've ordered parts, I just need to strip it down and repair it.
What's up with it?
Water circuit always says it's empty. It loses pressure. Basically a valve in it.
Alright.
And I rang them up to repair it, and they wanted 245 quid.
Let me guess, you googled it, got the parts, and then.
I got parts off them. They reluctantly agreed to supply them for £7.95.
Ah, right.
Hence why I'm doing it myself.
Yeah. But it's not like you're short of tools, is it, to fix it, so.
No, but I've never stripped a coffee machine, so that should be fun.
This one's pipes and stuff, isn't it?
Well, I've ordered both valves that allow water to drain back,
Yeah.
and I'll just look for them particular parts and replace both them parts.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's probably the easiest way of doing it, isn't it? At the end of the day, how wrong can you go with a coffee machine?
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, well, fair point.
Coffee's important.
If I come and I don't have a coffee, it's not good. You know what I did? I got to get Greg's. Greg's have got new ones.
New coffee?
Yeah, the what was it now? Salted caramel latte.
I've tried flavoured ones, I'm not a fan.
You know what? I won't try the others.
I've had a gingerbread one before.
Yeah, I didn't want to
a
try
pumpkin
them.
spice.
Yeah. I won't try them. I'm not a big fan of them. The caramel one I thought I'll try, and it actually was alright.
I had a Toblerone one, which were nice, from Costa.
Was that soft? Toblerone, that does sound nice actually.
I love Toblerone, so I just had to try it.
No, that's fair enough, isn't it? I've had
Yeah, I've had a few.
I'm normally a big Starbucks person myself. Starbucks normally the best.
I'm just a coffee fan, so whichever coffee shop
Well,
I
I've
see.
only started drinking coffee in the last 2 years, so it's been a big thing for me to become well into it.
That's looking a lot better.
Yeah, and that's just your sort of thing. It's a shame really, because there's a bit of sort of paint, hairline crackage going on here, but it's not really affecting anything. So.
But with how bad that were, I wouldn't be expecting it to be 100%.
Yeah,
anyway.
it's a high mileage car really for what it is. It's not, you know what I mean, it's best case scenario, isn't it? Oh right, yeah, I forgot to put a new battery on. I'm thinking, this new battery's a bit weak. I'm gonna grab that one. She's beat, she said she's recording, she's back. Yeah. It'll cut to me just doing it completely polished and looking nice now, won't it? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, oh yeah, we've just missed that last 20 minutes.
It's like a before and after, innit? Yeah, I'm just thinking, what's the best way of doing it? It's hard because I just sort of do. There's no like set way to do a dent. You just sort of.
As I've always said with dent men, it's experience. You can't just bite tools.
Well,
and do
no,
it.
I mean, I don't. That lad asked me yesterday. He says, "Oh, how long have you been doing this?" And I sort of go, "Oh, I've been doing it like 8 years. So it's like, it does add up, you know. Self-employed 4 year and obviously 4 year on my previous company, so it's, you know, you just sort of, yeah.
But people have always asked me, like, you do bodywork, why don't you do dents? It's like, because I can't. You leave dents to dent men.
You don't get me wrong, it's like anything, you know what I mean? I can do mechanical on my car, but it's maybe not to the level of thingy, and it takes time away from what I'm doing. If you're earning good money doing what you're doing, you sort of don't need to do.
I also think dents are a specialist job, and it's something that you'd have to practice a lot to be able to do it. So you'd have to put more time in than what's worth when it's not your job.
Exactly, and that's why, again, if you're teaching someone how to do this, it is so, unless they've got some sort of God's gift towards, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong, when I started, I had the idea, but it takes so long to be confident.
You have to understand metal, don't you, and how it works.
Yeah.
That's all you're trying to do is reverse the
essentially,
dent.
yeah. I mean,
you need to understand how that dent's been made to reverse it.
Yeah, and you sort of have to have an idea of, you know, if you're working on a front wing, 90% of front wings, you pull the liner back, you're straight on it. Whereas, you know, you work on something like a Bentley, they're a nightmare. They're not like they're not an easy thing to work on. Weirdly, Rolls Royces are really easy. They're just like a big cavern inside. But you know what I mean. You've got to have an idea of how to get. The biggest challenge is how you get into it. Have you got leverage? Have you got access? Whether you create your own access, again, borderline. People don't like it. Other people don't care.
And have you got somebody looking over your shoulder?
Yeah. And you know everything. If you're doing a dent and you've got the customer stood right next to you, you've got an added pressure that you didn't need. It can almost cause you to create a mistake or slip, or you know, you feel whenever you're doing something, you got someone watching.
We've all done it.
Yeah, we've all done it. So, you know, that's always an added pressure and stuff like that. And it just everything, you know, there's a lot of dead men out there that talk a lot, don't really do a lot. They just talk a lot or waffle, in my opinion. Whereas I just get on with it and I enjoy the job, so I do it, and you know, got happy customers, so I can't complain.
It's one of them things I always say, I'd love to have my business and not have to deal with customers.
Yeah.
But without customers, you haven't got a business.
No, that's it. You've always got to fight and deal with them, you know. Tell them what you can and can't do. You know, if you're not happy with the price, then well, at the end of the day, that's the price. There'll always be people cheaper than you, there'll always be people more expensive. It's just life, it's like anything.
There's a famous saying, you can please some of the people all of the time, or all of the people some of the time.
Yeah.
But not all of the people all of the time.
That's it. That is exactly it. I'm lucky, I've got a good customer basis. I've got a nice area I cover. You know, you
Makes
keep
your job
everything.
that bit easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, I can work for a lot of private customers, and you know, generally they'll use me again if they do ever get a dent. Hopefully they don't. But you know, I've had a lot of repeat custom, which is good. I get a lot.
So you don't go around creating dents for people then?
No, only rare occasions. You know, I've had a few funny mistakes, but won't talk about them. And yeah, just I've got.
They'd be the best ones to video the mistakes. That's
all
what people want to see.
Yeah, not all of them. You know, some have cost me money. And
We've all cost ourselves money.
Oh yeah, definitely. That again, that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is you know, you're doing something, but it's quite easy, you know, to drop some and scratch a panel. You know, if you're working on someone's pride and joy, even if you're doing a tiny little dent, one slip and you know, with a tool or you drop something, you scratch the car and then you've got to pay for that. Or
I remember years ago, I was doing a paint job which were something simple like a front bumper scuff.
Yeah.
And it was for one of the guys that worked at Autopaint.
Yeah.
And we'd got loads of cars in unit at that point, so we'd reversed his under ramp with a car on top.
Yeah.
And we'd held the ramps up off the actual ramp with 2 bits of wood.
Right.
And one of them fell off and smacked his wing and dented his wing. So I had to go to the paint shop and get more paint for his car and explain to him why I needed more paint for his car. That was a mistake that cost me.
Yeah, it happens, doesn't it? You know, you hear it.
You're like, why do you need more of my colour?
The worst.
I'm like, you don't need to know that.
Yeah. Oh, I've run out. I dropped it as I went into the shop. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a sort of workaround. But I mean, it's always better to be honest, in my opinion. Like I've had stuff where you've messed up and you don't want to. I don't want to be that guy that then gets a message saying, "Oh, I've just noticed this." You know what I mean? And it's I think it's from you. And I mean, if something happens, you just point it out. And you know what I mean?
Better just to sort it.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of customers. And even bosses not most of the time, it'll be something.
No, they appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, they'd rather say, "Oh, well, you know, most people wouldn't have said about that." So, and again, I like to even, you know, if I do a repair, again, no repair is perfect, but I'll point out.
I've seen some of your repairs and they look perfect.
Yeah, I'll point out the imperfections though, because that at the end of the day, that's if I do a repair and I still see something, I'll say, "You've got that there or this there," and most of the time you look and they go, "Oh yeah, it looks mint," and you're like, "Oh, sound." But you know, there's always the odd case of customer being a bit like, "Oh, you know, there's this bit there and there's that bit there." But you know, you deal with them again. It's not an often occurrence, so you just deal with it. Again, for me, stuff like this is mainly what I specialise in. So. Do a quick run through, change my tip, so I'm onto a sort of, not actually sure what it's made out of. I think it's the same stuff that I think it's supposed to be military grade, whatever it is, but
we love that word.
Yeah, some sort of plasticky type thing. Again, I've seen a lot of videos, especially recently, and they always pop up on
Aren't military on a budget?
I see a lot of these people, right, and you see them, I've seen them on Facebook all the time, you know, like they're mainly in like America and other countries like that. They've got this strange thing where they'll put a metal tip on and just basically do like 90% of the dent with a metal tip. So you end up with like 1,000,001 pushes when, why wouldn't you just use a tip like that?
Something a bit softer.
Yeah, do a softer tip. That's right, you do it literally.
So they create some work that they need to then tap down.
Yeah, kind of. What they do is, because they're only doing them small, but what it does is it puts these sort of like micro imperfections in. You do see them with the light on especially, and what they normally do is they normally fly it after and polish it, because it gets rid of a lot of it.
Risk of going through though, potentially, on
and
thin tape.
It's just pointless. Use a softer tip. You know, you can pick detail out with this. If you really want to go to a metal tip after, but you'll never really catch it.
Or maybe something that's really fine.
Yeah, it has to be really fine, because if you do any sort of force into a push with a metal tip, it'll end up just looking, you know, not
pointy.
Yeah, it'll end up looking like a pineapple. So, you know, you're better off using something like this, which you can almost blend it into itself by just doing loads of little pushes. But it doesn't leave them little divots and little marks and stuff like that. You can almost like rub it.
So what you're saying is patience is key.
Yeah,
That's why I'm not a dent man.
Yeah, you jump in a stage. They're going from really soft tip, big tip to instantly sharp, small metal tip. Metal to metal wants to be your last resort. You know what I mean? You want it to look 90% there, and then you go for your metal to metal if you really want to get the detail. Again though, you've got to think that factory paint and that orange peel, you're trying to essentially match that. That's the whole point of dent repair. You're trying to match that repair. Well, if you get every little bit out, I mean, orange peel, it just can almost look flat. So it ends up the other way then, and you end up looking weird.
It stands out for the other reason.
Yeah, it stands out for the other reason because it looks way flatter. Especially if you started introducing a bit of polishing and stuff like that. I just think there's a lot of weird practices with.
And I suppose when you're working on a dent like you are, you're looking at it and thinking, I need to get this right, but you only have to get it about 95%, and most other people will not see it anyway.
Yeah, as soon as that light goes off it,
you're looking for it.
It'll look totally different.
You're looking for what you need to sort, as such.
For most people that that aren't into cars, just want the cars fixing, you could stop at like 85% in my opinion. And they're happy because they never really actually look that close at it.
And
they see a big dent, they see a big dent like that, and you get it to them and say, oh yeah, I've done best I can, the big dent's gone. They'll go, wow. Because, to them, a big dent's gone. They've got little imperfections, but you get pickier the more you stare at paint every day. I stare at it for so long, I see every little bit, and it can get in your head a little bit because you can end up spending a lot more time than you've allocated on jobs for essentially no reason.
You have to draw a line at some point.
You do have to draw a line, yeah, and I was always bad before, when I first started to work on my own, even when I was employed to be fair, but a lot different, when I went on my own I thought, right, I can spend a bit more time, get everything to where I want it, but you almost then go too far. You start really, really picking pointless things, and the amount of times I've had customers come to me and just say,
leave it,
you can stop, you spent, I stopped seeing it 20 minutes ago and you're still doing little bits.
You're still poking and prodding.
Yeah, because it's not for me then. It becomes a personal almost attack on myself. I've got to get that bit that I can't get to, and and the other thing is as well, what can happen, you can end up getting too fussy and end up making it worse. I've had that before where there'll be one little imperfection and I can't get into it, and I mess around, I spend like half an hour really trying to get to it.
You create two more to sort
and then create more damage, yeah, because you've pushed past the skin and put like a line in it, and you just think, I should have just left it.
The joys of OCD.
Yeah, essentially, you've just got to leave it sometimes and just say, look, that's what you're getting. It's to a high standard in my opinion. Are you happy with it? Yes. Right, well we're done. We're all good then. And that's it.
And your customers were happy 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. You move on to the next, For me, like I say, it's one of them where your customer's happy, everybody's happy.
Doesn't always work like that though.
No, not necessarily.
I've repainted things that I know a customer would be happy with.
Yeah, because
I'm not.
Yeah, that's it. That's the
again
other,
costing myself money.
Yeah, that's the other argument, isn't it? You gotta. Like I say, it's self-gratification, isn't it? If you're not happy with something you've done, realistically, it's hard to say, I'm going to leave it, because you don't, every fibre of your being's going, you need to get that little bit, you need to do that little bit, and for me, again, I like to always do something and think, I'm happy with it, but I'm not on my car. Another thing that's big with PDR repairs and stuff like that is cross-checking. So looking at something from other angles, because you can do a dent in the centre of a door, crease through a door, do it one way looking at one angle. You look it from down, like a downwards angle, and it'll just like a stitch across because you've pushed every a little bit, and you know, like stuff like this. I could do it one way and think, wow, that's mint, and then I could go around the other side and go, oh my god, like how
Let's
do you
start
do it?
again.
It works,
Let's get tools back out.
It works well. You get it to a good point one way, then you switch to the other way. You get it good that way. Generally, when you go around to the other side again, it looks bang on. Like it looked better, way better. Like you've almost skipped. You know, you've jumped 20 minutes in the repair just by spending 5 on the other side. I mean, a lot of this should just polish off, to be honest. Depends how far you're going to go with it, doesn't it? If you're wanting to paint it or whatever.
I'd rather not paint it.
That's what I mean. I mean, we can get it. I mean, dent-wise, the dent will come off, but it just depends. You know, if you can touch them little bits in. What the car is, it's not really worth painting, is it? You'd be better off just polishing as much as you can, getting it straight as you can, and then giving it a giving it a touching, you know, in them places where it is a little bit paint damaged, because it's going to look 10 out of 10 either way, innit? From what it was to what it is. No one's going to look at it and go, that had a massive dent in it and it's all damaged. Well, unless obviously they look at the video. But every car's had repairs, you know. I used to have a bad habit when I was buying a car, especially when I first started. Super anal. I'd look at a car and I'd go, that's had a door painted, I'm not interested, don't it? Like, you know, it could be a mean car beside that because I've got issue.
You're the person that when you come to buy a car, we've got dealers down there with brand new ones.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what it got to the point of. And you know, you end up losing yourself when you're trying to buy a car. You can't buy anything because you just see imperfection.
You have to set your expectations realistic on the age of the car.
If you're buying a car that's 10-year-old, it's very rare it's going to have factory paint. It never bothered me with bumpers, weirdly. I was alright with bumpers. It was always...
You expect paint on the bumper though?
Yeah, I suppose so. It always bothered me when it was a case of, you know, a body panel, because I'd see it, like, I know I'd sort of like pick up on it every time. Whereas a bump corner, I was never really that bothered about. So I've had cars with like painted bumpers.
So would you prefer stone chips on bonnet or a repainted front end?
Oh, good point. Depends who paints it.
I'd prefer a repainted front end.
Yeah. See, I'd rather the stone chips and get paint myself. Because at least I know I could pick the painter, I could pick the job, and I could pick the finish. Almost, you know.
Yeah.
Pay a painter for a good, you know, some good quality lacquer. You pay the extra, you say, look, I want it mint, I don't want to be able to tell. A lot of people go in and say, oh, what's cheapest price sort of thing. I want it bang on. So I'd rather do that myself. I'd rather knock money off and have that to myself, you know. I don't know why you're saying you'd buy it with it on, you can paint it yourself. Oh, will it annoy you painting it yourself?
But a hypothetical.
Yeah. Because I know, if I look at cars with dents in, I once bought a car from a dealership that I used to do work at, and I didn't want to do the dent on it, so I actually got my my old boss to do it for me. Because I said to him,
"You'll get laziness."
Paid. Well, no, because I said, "Oh, you'll get paid if you do it. I don't get paid if I do it." So I got the dealership to pay for it. So he got free repair out, and it's never nice doing work on your own car because you like you say, you can be too anal and it can sort of spoil it for you a little bit. So it's always nice to get someone else to do it, but you just got to trust them.
Working on your own car can feel like a chore as well, because you're getting paid for it.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. It's, I mean, in the last couple of years I've had quite a few cars, and realistically, I haven't really worked dents-wise on any of them. Even though they've had them, I just, you know, I don't really do them. Unless they were bad, you know.
See, I'd have to do every dent on any car I've got.
Yeah.
Or CD kicking in.
It does, yeah, it does. Like, I took one of our BMWs to a show and I did all the dents on that. I went round it and polished it and everything. And once the dents were done on it, it did look like a different car because it had some awkward dents on it. And you know, it can change the appearance of a car so easily. But especially if you've got something black like this, it picks up every dent. You know, as soon as you look at it, you can see it. Whereas you get like a white car, you maybe don't see them as much because of the light. But no, I do need to. The next car I get, I'm definitely going to do all the dents on and get them in. Because I've been a bit lazy with it. Focusing too much on my customers. It doesn't look too bad though, doesn't it? It doesn't look too bad actually. It looks quite, I think that still needs a bit more. It's just got a slight brown there. Just see it, but
From directly above, it's like a
yeah,
low,
it kinks
low
on the
spot
edge.
there.
Yeah, I think that's what I was looking at. That's where the kink is underneath. But I don't want it because the paint's flaking off the lid. So I don't want to.
Don't worry about paint on lid.
No.
Try and get rid of them.
That obviously. So what I'll do is get the crimper on the edge. You know, just get the goosenecks on it.
Yeah, you'll have to glue pull that.
It looks like it's got a chip in it.
Yeah, there's a chip as well.
I want to get rid of the pulled out, put bar up, headliner.
I want you to get rid of dent and then I can touch it in.
Yeah. My mate's tried ringing me. He's had an M3 like I had. Got a cheap swap to need one for it. So he's got like £7 in it. It's cheap. And had like a running issue and I couldn't figure out what it was. And he's done let's do it now. There's one that heads off. Because that burnt out valve and a burnt out valve. So he's done all that. Luckily he's done it on himself in the mechanic. And then he's put it all back together. It's still not running right and he can't figure out what it is. So he sent me a video earlier and he says there's when you put the cams in, there's like I'll show you, I've never seen it like, it's got like a little thing you have to like line up. And I'm guessing he hasn't done that because he said he's going to check it, so it could be that. But it says cam crank correlation code or something. Trying to change the sensors, you know, to swap the sensors over from the other bank to the side and stuff like that, but can't seem to get it thinking. I mean, he's in it cheap because even with all the work he's had to do, the new valve and everything, I think he's only like maybe well under 10 in it. So it's not exactly, it's still a cheap car, but it's again he's just chasing this issue and I think it's starting to do his head in. It's always bad when you have to, yeah, it's always bad when you're a mechanic and you sort of have to give in and say, oh yeah, I'm going to have to take it somewhere. And that's what he was getting to the point of. He was like, I'm just going to try this. I mean, they put it back together, him and his mate, but he timed it up wrong.
That could be part of the problem.
Well no, they did that and then they took it back apart and redid it and they had to, because there's a, I don't know if it's the cap, the bolts for the cam caps that you're supposed to change as well, you know, every time.
Is it on a chain or a belt?
Chain. So when obviously the chain doesn't have to be messed with, obviously you can just take it on and off, can't you? But the caps that hold the cam in, I think you have to change the bolts for them. There's some bolt they have to change and his mate did it wrong the first time, so you have to get new ones of them instantly. Chasing himself around with it. It'd be interesting to know what this guy said about his car. He's not replied to me. You know, the guy said he had another guy interested. I'm not jumping into a £15 car just like.
I could tell you want it though.
I liked it, but I want many pictures. Because he said oh, I wasn't really planning on selling it, so I didn't get many pictures of it. So, you know, like, to me...
He needs to text something.
Yeah, he needs to get something. He works away or something, I don't know what he does. It all seems a bit...
Sounds like a scam.
No, yeah, no, it definitely isn't a scam, but It's one of them where you sort of think, well, am I going to get there and go, oh, it's had every panel painted, old crap. Suppose it's the oldest one of them on left on the road. No 7 plates really, like 5th off production line. So it's kind of cool that it's really early, but it's right high spec as well. But again, it's like, goes to a bit more and get nice, like M2 or something, or an M4. Half the price in tax a year.
We should do Range Rovers, £5,000 a year tax first year. Another reason
and
to
your
avoid
insurance
them.
is £5,000.
Yeah, another reason to avoid them.
Yeah. I worked on one the other day, 24 plate, brand new, £2,000 for all that. Yep. You know what? Lovely bloke. But I got a dent up on the top of the door there, and because I've got them funny recessed handles, all in the box section, could not get anywhere near it. Took all the door panel, everywhere, could not get into it. That needed Land Rover to take the handle out because I won't take it out like that.
Getting closer.
Yeah, just a slight line crease that runs through there, and then I'll give it a look and see. Say it might have a little dip on that edge bit, but I don't want to go too mad and end up.
It still looks dipped all the way there.
Yeah. I just don't want to kink that edge out anymore, that's all, and have it go the other way. We'll see. This here looks annoying.
When you push in there now, from up here, that looks pretty much there.
Yeah, so
you know, until it springs back.
Yeah, there's like an almost. One of them bits. What's happening? It's hard to see because you're looking at one angle and you think, oh yeah, it was alright. And then the rear angle is a little bit that you sort of see it going. See now. I went with the there's a weird like line there, I don't know where it's from. Over Christmas.
You don't like spending on tools, normally?
Best thing I did, we get that new glue. Lovely that stuff.
So that one you told me about where you bought a big bag of 50 sticks?
Yeah, it just works like amazing. Just really good. Can't like slay it off. It works incredibly. And think, obviously you never get no glues like perfect, but
it's quite versatile.
It's very versatile, yeah. And I've used loads of brands, loads. And to say this is like some unbranded cheap stuff, it's really good. Like I say, you saw me glue pulling that. Half the time I didn't even have to put any panel wipe on and pull it off. It just comes off nicely most of the time anyway. Sometimes you can't get it off at all because it's just so stuck, which is obviously quite a good thing as well.
You use acetone to get it off, didn't you, when it's stuck?
You just panel wipe and any sort of degreaser will generally get it off. I mean, acetone's a bit strong really. Some people use it, but you can use I've seen people use all sorts. Any alcohol, high alcohol type stuff will work as well.
Vodka?
Yeah, I was just going to say vodka would probably work. I've never actually tried it, but I bet it works.
It'd be an expensive one though, wouldn't it?
People use
and it'd be like, Ross has got an alcohol problem.
Yeah.
He's gone through 17 bottles of vodka this month.
Yeah, 17 bottles of Smirnoff. A lot of people use isopropyl isopropyl alcohol.
I use that for cleaning things before doing the vinyl.
Yeah, so what is it, like 99%?
Yeah, 99.8, I think, something like that.
Yeah, so that's where you know, that's good stuff. I've never actually...
I use the Autosmart Panel Prep Plus, which is the same thing.
Yeah, I've never actually really used it. I just use, like I say, just general body shop degreaser. I think that this stuff that I've got in that now is Max Mayer. Sort of body shop I was thinking there's a panel wipe, so I got that in there. So they use Max Mayer, so I've got that. Now, I think with a bit of a polish, see that don't really dip now, but
yeah, that looks a lot better.
Looks a lot better, doesn't it? So you've got a little bit of texturing down this here, but you don't dip on that edge, does it? It doesn't go. It just sits nice about it. What I'll do now, I'll give it a whiz over now. I'll give it a whiz over and we'll see what it looks like. I don't want to keep.
Alex.
That. I
think if anything, there's a slight dip there,
yeah.
Kind of that area. But it's...
Yeah, a little bit.
It might be a bit of an optical illusion. You know,
it's hard to see because of the angles you're looking at.
When you're doing something like this, because you're looking for something, you sometimes see something that's not there as well.
Well, yeah, you're looking for more and more every time because it's decreasing every time.
Going back to the perfection thing.
It's decreasing every time, so you are looking for every little
sometimes
bit.
It's best to walk away for 5.
Yeah, look back at it and
give it a buff, walk away 5, go back and have a look, and then you'll probably be happy with it.
I've done stuff, looked at it a year later and gone, wow, I did a good job on that. But at the time, I remember thinking it's not good enough. You know what I mean? It's not up to the standard or whatever. Give it a whiz over. Just give it a final little polish over. See what it feels like. We'll put a right little bit on. Not too much. She's not perfect, but hell of a lot better than having a big dent in your car. Arm is over.
See, we've now got a nice straight car. This rear quarter had quite a few dents on it, they're all now gone. As we go around the car, you can see Ross has done an excellent job. Dent on the back of the roof's gone. The dent on the front of the roof's now gone, just a stone chip to touch in. And as we look at the back, small dent on the rear gone. Bottom of the door, that's now gone. That is now nice and straight again at the top of the door. And the main one, the front wing, as you can see, that it's not perfect, but after some touching in, flattening and polishing, that is now looking pretty good. And as you can see, there are a couple on the bonnet which are gone as well. So overall, we're very happy with it. The next stage of the Audi is not complete. We need to do some polishing around the whole car. I'm going to paint both bumpers because there's some scuffs on them. And then the next thing, the wheels are going off for reconditioning. Welcome back to the channel. Here's another exciting video update on our Audi project. It's time to bid farewell to the temporary wheels and welcome the original ones back, sporting a fresh new look. In this update, we're also embarking on some electrifying refurb work on the rusty and seized old rear brakes. We've replaced the rear discs and pads, and we're powder coating the calipers in a prismatic powder that looks awesome. This project is really starting to come together and levelling up with every upgrade that we make. We've now got the temporary wheel off, and you can see the rear brakes are in pretty poor condition. We've got new disc and pads to go on, and the rear calipers are both getting refurbed as they're both seized on currently. We've got a nice fancy powder to do them in. It's metallic black with like a rainbow effect glitter in. So some people may say it's a bit girly, but I think it'll look nice. So let's get the calipers off and let's make a start on getting them looking nice and shiny. In progress tonight, we've got the backing plates wire brushed and satin blacked, and we've got the new disc bolted up. We've got both sides done. So we've now got nice free moving discs. Bearings are in good condition as well. Calipers nice and clean now, they've been shot blasted. We've got one of them in the oven with its carrier that's been outgassed, and we're finished for tonight. So we'll have some more updates tomorrow and we'll get them powder coated, rebuilt and back on the car. So the calipers are media blasted first of all, and then they're put in the oven in what we call an outgassing cycle, where they go on 250 degrees for about 40 minutes, opens up the pores of the metal and allows all the impurities to come out. They then have to go in the oven again and get re-blasted, which cleans everything back off that's come out of the pores and gives you a nice clean casting to powder coat. It's then a case of masking up all the areas that have sliders and bleed screws and things where you don't want the powder to go, which you can see we're just getting it done now, blanking all your holes off with bolts and bleed screws where needed, and then it's a case of getting them in the oven and getting them back up to temperature. So they go in the oven for about an hour in total. It takes 25 to 35 minutes to heat the casting up to a temperature where you can then take them out of the oven and what you call hot shoot them with the powder. So you put the powder on while the caliper's hot, they then go back in the oven, and you're looking about another 20 minutes, sometimes it's less depending on what powders you're using, but that's roughly the cycle times for getting the caliper done. The masking can be quite fiddly because you're obviously trying to mask the areas where you don't want the powder to go,
but you don't want to see any edges that are not powder coated. So it's a pretty neat job you have to do, and use a blade and obviously trim them very finely around the lines, and that way when you put the caliper back together you have a nice looking finish. So these calipers have now been in the oven for approximately 35 minutes, and that gets them up to the temperature for powder coating, which for this powder is 180 degrees. Our oven's a little bit out, so it's set at 200. We've tested it and it's about 20 degrees out, the temperature gauge on it, because we use household ovens to do the powder coating. Being an household oven size, obviously they're perfect for doing brake calipers. Anything bigger and you'd be wasting money on running costs of keeping the oven hot, because you tend to do one set of calipers at a time because people choose different colours. So it's not like you can batch them and do 4 or 5 sets in a larger oven. So right at the start, when we started doing brake calipers, we chose to use a household oven as they just seem to be the perfect size. So the camera doesn't pick up the prismatic very well in the black, but later on in the video you'll see that. Once they've been powder coated, they go back in the oven for about 20 minutes, and then once they've cooled back off, we move on to building them up. As you can see, we've got new sliders, we're re-greasing everything, making sure everything is going to last. When we do these calipers for customers, we give a 2-3 year warranty on them, so you need to make sure everything's right. The sliders get greased, and as you can see, I'm turning them around and working them in just to make sure there's grease all around on the inside, because you want to keep those sliders free as possible. What happens over time on these types of calipers is if the caliper piston doesn't seize in the actual caliper housing, you'll tend to find that one of these pins will seize, top or bottom, and then you get your caliper trying to tilt an uneven wear and warm brake pads off at an angle. We don't want any of that, and obviously with this being a new setup, everything's moving lovely and freely, and we need to get back on the car. So once we've got the sliders built back up for the carrier, it's time to get the piston and the handbrake mechanism back in the rear caliper. Now these are very fiddly to do. You've got like a spring mounted circular cylinder with a thread on it, which you wind the piston onto, and when the arm's on the back of that and you turn the handbrake arm, that's what makes the piston grip for the handbrake. There's a circlip deep in the caliper, which is quite difficult to get on, and they're quite fiddly. And I've actually got a pair of right angled circlip pliers which have got a really deep reach, which years ago I ground them down and modified them specifically to do the rear Volkswagen and Seat Group and Audi Group calipers, because we had a customer ask us to do a set. So we've had these for a while, and it does make the job a little bit easier, because obviously you probably need specialist tools if you're an actual caliper remanufacturer, but we have to make do with things we can buy and modify, because we don't have the ability to get those tools. But once you get the circlip in, it's then a case of greasing all the seals with the silicone grease. You then wind the piston onto the thread. You have to put the piston boot down to the bottom of the piston, get the lip in the caliper because it isn't held in with anything other than the actual piston itself. So you have to kind of put the edge of the seal into a recess and then wind the piston in like you can see I'm doing, and you wind it all the way down until it hits the bottom, and then you've got the handbrake lever arm to put back on. So it's now time to get the caliper back on the car. We're just putting the carrier on, and the 2 bolts on the inside of the hub are a little bit awkward to get to. There's arms in the way and things, so we get them in as much as we can finger tight, and then we've got this nice big ratchet, new Mac one that I bought recently, which is very handy for jobs like this where you need to make sure that the caliper bolts are tight. Once we've got those tight, we're obviously going to get the caliper on and get the pads in, and then we'll have to get the caliper bled up and some new brake fluid in. So on the Project Audi we're using Duratec discs and pads, which are one of the cheaper brands but they're decent quality. We've been using them for a while now and we're quite happy with them. All the discs are coated as well, so you don't get heavy corrosion on them. These ones are coated silver over the whole disc, and obviously once you use them and bed them in, the pads clean the silver off the centre part of the disc where your pads are contacting, and then the rest of it's left in a nice silver finish, and you don't get the rust that you usually get. As you can see, we've got the caliper on now, the handbrake cable back in. Then it's just a case of getting the other side on, getting the brake lines attached, and then getting some fluid in and getting it all bled up. So we've got the wheels on, we've ordered new centre caps and new nut covers. Front calipers are going to get powder coated to match the rears. And as you can see, that is a huge improvement on what we had before. Got the freshly coated wheels, the freshly coated calipers, and the new disc and pads on the rear. And just to show you, you can see it's like a rainbow glitter in the black calipers, which looks really nice, possibly a bit girly, but Project Audi is now starting to take shape. Now I've had to order a set of rear springs for it because we found that on the left rear coil. So she'll have a new set of rear springs on as well. All the tyres are good. We'll get the front brakes done over the Christmas break. And then once the front brakes are done, she is ready to go for an MOT. We're also going to give her a good clean off underneath because she has spent some of her life on building sites, so it's quite dirty underneath. We'll get that a nice Gouter jet wash and clean it all off. And we're also going to give it a full service. And then it's just some finish off paintwork and maybe a nice new set of number plates. I mean, look at that rainbow sparkle, the prismatic powder on those calipers. They have come out absolutely amazing. It's really starting to take shape now, this project. We obviously need to get the front brakes done to match, but the wheels, we've now got the centre caps in as well. The wheels look absolutely awesome. The brakes look great behind the wheels. It's really starting to clean the car up. Even just with the wheels on before we put the centre caps in and that, it's still starting to look like a really nice motor again. It's something that once finished we're going to put up for sale, so it is going to be available. We're not sure on the price yet. We'll wait to see what the MOT brings up, and it'll be fully serviced and everything will be ready on it. It'll be a really good, clean, solid car. All the work that's required to be done will be done on it, and it'll be ready to drive. So we're going to change the rear springs now because the rear spring has snapped on this side, so we're going to put a pair on so we can get it through an MOT next week. Need an 18 spanner, not a 19. Try using the right spanner. Don't know if we need it, but I have put a stand under the arm. Most cars you don't, but some you do. Yeah, not going to need it, but it does help to get the arm back in, to get the bolt back in. And I'm thankful that the bolt wasn't seized. As you can see, snapped to coil off the top. As I say, we're putting a pair of springs on this. Just get some crustiness out. Oh, in fact, a piece of the bottom part of the spring had also broken off. So it's a good job we're changing these. Get some of the muck out. Get the spring seated. So now I'm going to use the stand just to bring the arm up level, so it's in the right position to get the bolt back in. You don't need this stand, but it does make the job that a little bit easier for lining up, getting your bolt in.
get the nut. It's an 18mm nut and a 19, or is it an 18 on this end as well? Yep, it's an 18, that's why the socket was stuck. So we'll swap the 19 for an 18. And what I'm going to do with this is simulate some weight on the vehicle by pushing the arm up to a slightly higher position so that we're not putting tension on this bush. We're now going to do the same for this side. This side spring isn't broken, but you should always replace springs in pairs. And in fact, I was wrong. This spring is broken. The bottom had snapped off. So it's a good job that we're replacing this one as well. Bottom coil. Get the spring sat where it should be, and same with the top. And then just lower this a little bit. And then push this up again to get the bolt in. So, nice easy job changing the rear springs on the rear of an Audi A3. That'll go in. And again, I'm going to push the arm up slightly so that we don't put tension on this bush. I know it's suspension, but I always like to just make sure that they're on 110 Newton meters minimum. That's both sides checked off. There we go. I always like to mark off the bolts once they're tight with a paint pen. It's just very easy at a later date to see if anything's moved. And you mark them off once you've torqued them up. So that's peace of mind as well, that you know you've done everything. Lower this stand back down now. You can see we've got new coil springs on both sides now. Both of them were broken, so it's a good job we've changed those. And we've got as nice new brakes we did the other day. So the rear now is more or less finished. I have just got to put a few bolts and securing screws onto, and some repair washers onto the heat shield above the exhaust, because that is hanging down. So we're going to secure that back up so it doesn't get mentioned on the MOT. I believe it's only an advisory, but there's a good chance they'll mention it otherwise.
So these are just the right size to turn up the thread, and using one of these washers we'll be able to secure the heat shield back in place.
So first of all, you have to pull the old fixings down and then grip this in the end of the pliers. Push the washer up and over, and then use the pliers to turn that up the thread. If you look up there now, you can see that we've removed what would be one of those, it's like a plastic circle with some metal tabs in that rot away. And what we've done is replaced it with a repair washer, and we've turned one of those screw clips on underneath. And we'll put a little bit of grease around the bottom to stop anything else rotting, and that will hold it up nicely. There is actually a 13mm at this side that holds this side of it up. I'm going to see if we can get that out, and we'll put a repair washer on this as well. Yep, so that bolt's come down. Put a little bit of grease on it to go back up. And we'll also get a large repair washer. And this will help to hold up the heat shield. There we go, that's starting to be secure now as well. On this one, I'm going to try and use a larger repair washer. And then again, start this on the threads. It's not always easy because the threads are generally a little bit rusty and corroded, but that one has started nice. again. If you go to a dealership, they will want a lot of money for a heat shield or to replace a heat shield. Some people say you can take them off. I prefer not to, because obviously they're on there for a reason. And this is a good solid fix. You can see now that this is held up. Just need to check the other ones and see if any of the other ones are loose, which they are. Got one more to do at this side. So, you have to remove the plastic cap that's there, which is part of the rotted clip. And go and get another one of the larger washers. And look to turn this on again. A little bit fiddly, there's not much room. But if you can get the washer over and get the clip started. Oh. They're normally just long enough to get the clip started, and then once you've got it started, you turn it up and the grip quite tightly. So again, that one is now tight. The whole heat shield looks to be secure. We've got one there, one there, one there. And that one has still got its legs. So I'll try and show you. That one is what an OEM one looks like. It's got metal legs that grip on. I think they're only tin coated. So they do rot away and fall away. So we just replace them with a repair washer and a clip, which we've got two on the front. We've put one on the 30mm bolt on the end, then we've got one there. And that one doesn't need replacing because that one's still holding. So that's another job done. So it's now time to put the rear wheels back on, and then the rear is finished. Been very careful not to mark the freshly coated wheels. That'll be the last thing we want to do. What we're actually going to do on these is put the new locking wheel nut on. So as we have got nice new wheels, I'm going to put some new Magard black locking wheel nuts on, because we have got some caps to put on the wheel nuts, which we're going to put on when it's all done. These obviously look a bit fresher. Again, being very careful with the wheel not to mark the wheel or the calipers. I'm actually fairly torn on whether I want to sell or keep this when it's done. It's not going to be worth a terrible amount of money, and it's possibly worth more to me as a spare vehicle. I will get shouted at from the missus, so she says I don't need another spare vehicle. But us men always like a spare vehicle. And we torque the wheels up to 120 Newton meters.
we all like a satisfying click from a torque wrench. Go and do the other side. And then, as we say, the rear is finished. Some more satisfying torque wrench clicks. That's all the rear's torqued up. And what we'll do now is just put the new lockers on the front as well. So the thread's a little bit tight on this locking nut, so what I'm going to do is just run a tap down before we put the new locking nut in. It's not being cross-threaded, it's just corrosion that's got into the old nuts. I'm going to do this on all of the nuts on the front when we do the front brakes to make sure everything's as it should be. But for now I'll just do the lockers that we're putting in. That's now gone in nicely. And again, torqued up to 120 Newton meters. Just this side to do now. We have currently got the battery on charge as well, because it's been stood for a while. Just need the key for the old locker and the new locking nut. That one I don't believe needs a tap, but I'm going to run the tap anyway because we don't want to damage any threads on the new locking nuts. The holes come straight through at the back, so just blow it through. And then the new black locking nut in. And then again, torque up to 120 Newton meters. Another satisfying click. And back the torque wrench off. You should never leave your torque wrench set to a torque because it can stretch the spring and then give you results that are not quite what they should be. So, another evening's work finished on the Audi. Got a fair bit of work done. As you can see, the locking nuts look a lot better. So now we've finished working on the rear. We've put the caps on the nuts, so we've got new black locking wheel nuts, new black caps. Makes a whole world of difference. It's little touches like that that I think can finish a car and make it look a lot nicer. As you've watched us do earlier in the video, we've got the new rear springs on and we've put the repair washers on to hold the heat shield up, which makes a big difference so you haven't got a rattle on the top of your exhaust. We've now got a service left to do, so we've got a pile of service bits here. It's going to be a full service. Air filter, oil, fuel filter, cabin filter, and obviously put a new sump plug in. And also we're going to be reconditioning the front calipers because they're looking a little bit crusty. The discs are okay, but we are going to blast the discs in the media blaster and paint the centres and the edges silver so that they match the rear. We'll obviously put the caps on the wheels as well. The calipers will look nice and pretty. The discs and pads we did for the customer not long before we bought it, so they're in good condition. I think we might have just put pads in fact, because the discs have got a slight lip, but it's only minor. So the brakes will all be in excellent condition. We also, in the 12 months prior to us buying this, we also put a pair of front arms on it. So it's had bottom arms and the alignment done. And we've also put a DPF on it a while ago. And then obviously we've done the clutch and flywheel recently when we've bought it. And we've also put the starter motor on it. So it's had lots of work and lots of replacement parts, all the service stuff. The thing to worry about on an old car like this with high mileage would be the clutch and flywheel, which is an expensive repair. But as it is, we've got all that done. And then we've even done the finishing touches like the wheels recoating. We're going to do some bits of paint work on it to tidy that up. We're going to polish the whole car first and see how it all comes up. It is an old car, it has got 177,000 on the clock, so I'm not going to put the time and money into doing a full repaint on it. It just wouldn't be worth it to sell, but for what it is, it's going to be an excellent car for somebody to buy. If anybody's going to be interested in buying this when it's done, like I say, I'm half tempted to keep it myself as a spare vehicle, but I'll get shouted at home for that. So it will more than likely be going up for sale. It'll have a full 12-month MOT on it, and obviously you can see through the videos all the work it's had done. When it's been all polished up, I can guarantee it's going to look amazing. For a car that's going to be worth £2.5 grand, it's going to be a good buy. It's going to have had a lot of work done. I'm not going to make much profit on it. I'll make a little bit, but this was more of a car to do for our YouTube channel. So I'm just happy to restore the car and get it back on the road. It'll go again for a number of years now for somebody, and it'll be a great little vehicle.
So we've found, while we've been moving the car in the dark tonight, that we've got an issue with the rear light on the driver's side. The inner one doesn't come on. As you can see, left hand side, the LED bars are on in both lights, and on the right hand side, only the outer one is on. Now if you start the engine, the inner one does come on, but dimmer. So I think potentially we've got a broken wire going into the boot that's causing a bad earth or low voltage or something. So what we're going to do is have a quick look at that and see if we can find the issue. So after doing some testing, I've determined we have a faulty right rear light. I took it out the other day and cleaned some contacts up on it which run the LEDs, and the outer one started working again and the inner one stopped. Now what I've done at the minute, I've bridged the inner from the other side to that side and it works. So we know that light's fine. If we take my bridging wire out, you can see the inner one's not working. And it's difficult to show here, but if I wiggle the connections, you can see the inner one comes on if I remove the connection for the outer and the switch, but they both won't run at the same time.
After some testing today, we've figured out that it's this light. So I've ordered a new unit to come on Monday, so it'll have a new light in. If you basically connect the light so the outer LED works on the outer one, turns the inner one off. And I believe it's down to water ingress, because we cleaned the connection up which made the outer one work again, but in turn turned the inner one off. We've disconnected the outer one again by snipping the wire that runs the inner LED on the outer light, and it works. So we know that that light's okay. This light is the one with a fault in it. It's the circuit board in the bottom that's got water on it, and I believe that has damaged the circuit board, which is stopping that from running. So we'll have the new light in it on Monday, and that should cure that as well. It's great that we're now coming to the end of the project. We will be doing another couple of videos. Obviously we need to service the vehicle, do the front brakes, and also give it a full machine polish and then get it MOT'd. What we will do is we'll go through the front brake reconditioning, and we'll also do the servicing. We'll do a bit of video for the polishing side of things as well, but the front brakes and the service will be on a video, and then the machine polishing, finishing off, making it look pretty, putting the new number plates on, that'll be on another video. If any of us subscribers or viewers are interested in buying the vehicle, drop me a message, it'll save me advertising it. And it'll also keep our lass happy because she says I have to sell it. So we're back in this morning and we've got the new light. So let's get this fitted and see if it cures this problem. The new light hasn't come with a bulb holder, so I'm hoping that the original bulb holder will work fine with it. I'm fairly confident. That's good. Glad we've got a new light. Definitely why it had water ingress. And just as we're getting onto it, the food van's here, so I'm just going to stop for food. Right, this has been a bit of test. Hope that this sorts out the issue. I am going to take this light back out and secure it. Before I secure it, sorry, and put some grease to make sure we don't get any water in this light. We'll just sit it there and turn the light on for now and see whether that cures the issue. So the outer light is on, and as you can see the inner light's on, so we're all fixed. So that new light has cured that problem. So before I secure this in and finish it properly, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of grease around the seal, just so 100% we don't get any water in it. So what we've done, we've put grease around the rubber seal because it's the old light bulb holder. So the seal's obviously been compressed on the old light. So just to make sure we don't get any water in the same issue, we've put the grease around it so that it does 100% seal. Fairly sure that it was just the circuit board at the bottom that had water ingress on the old light. So I'm just going to get a screwdriver to turn these. To make sure that they're fully tight. Connect the wiring back up. So the lights come back on. And then it's just a case of fixing them back in place.
these are actually held in place by a plastic nut. It's quite deep, just to make sure that you don't drop it when you're putting it in and tightening it up. Slight tightening position. Get the clip back in. There we go.
Both rear lights now have the same brightness. I've turned the lights off in the shop, or most of them, just so I can show you. So the low voltage on the damaged rear light was what we thought with the circuit board. The right hand light, when it was working, wasn't as bright. You can see now that they're both exactly the same brightness. So the light problem is now cured and we are now ready for an MOT. So the tools that you need for stripping the front brakes down is a flat bladed screwdriver to pop out the retaining spring off the front of the caliper. And then you need a 7mm Allen key to remove the sliders. We have got all new sliders to go with the new seal kits. And we'll also need one of these to clamp your brake pipe off so we don't lose all the fluid. We'll also need a 12mm to take the brake union out. I believe it's a 12. It's an 11. And we'll lose a bit of brake fluid, so I'll just bob a bin underneath there to catch that. And there we go. That's just losing the fluid out of the caliper. And then you can pry just a little bit like that, which will then allow you to take the caliper off. So these pads were put in fairly recently, so we will be reusing them, but we are going to be cleaning everything up. We're also going to be powder coating the caliper. I think that's a 21 to take the caliper carrier off. Yep, that's a 21. Just start the other one as well. A little bit of corrosion on them, so I'm having to work the socket on. I could use a battery powered gun to get these out. It would make it a little bit quicker, but they're nearly off now anyway. So that is the carrier off as well. So we'll go and get these ready for powder coating. It's the same job on this side. So what we're doing now is we're stripping these down, ready to be media blasted and powder coated. So again, we're going prismatic black to match the rears. It's a colour that I've decided I've fallen in love with. Some people say it's girly, but I like it. So the easiest way to get the pistons out when they're not seized, which these aren't, is to use some compressed air. It does sometimes throw brake fluid around, so put a cloth over to cover it, and then a light blast of air like that will pop the piston out. Again, we're replacing both pistons, all the seals. These pistons, to be honest, that one's gone, but that one has been changed at some point. It's not the original one. We have two matching new ones to go on. Again, these seals are kind of pressed on. They have a little metal ring inside which makes them hold on to the casing. they are getting replaced with new ones as well. And then obviously you have the internal seal, which we will be replacing as well. So these are pretty simple calipers to refurbish. Just need to make sure that we can get the bleed screw out. Normally not too bad on these. People tend to think if you use a buzz gun that you will snap the bleed screws, but I find it to be the opposite. If you're using the buzz gun to actually shock the bleed screw, it's a lot more likely to come off than if you're trying to use a ratchet or a spanner and take it off with one bit of brute force as such. The pulsing, shocking of the buzz gun, generally I find that we don't snap any. Or if they're going to snap, they'll not snap with a gun, they may snap by hand. So this one's probably going to snap now to prove me wrong. But it hasn't, it's come out nicely. And that's both these calipers stripped and ready, going in the media blaster. We now have both the front calipers and carriers media blasted, so they're in the oven. These have to be outgassed for 45 minutes at 250 degrees. So we're on 45 minutes at 250 degrees. It's now time to get these discs off and make them look pretty. We can't make the calipers look nice and then leave non-pretty discs on. So we've media blasted the disc and we're just putting a little bit of etch prime on the edges before we go with the silver. It does just help hold back the corrosion for a little bit longer. Send off the primer with a heat gun because it's quite cold today. Normally we'd put new discs on, but these discs are in good condition, and as we get into a point where we're not actually going to make any money on this car with all the extra things we're having to do to it, I'm at a point where I need to start cutting back a little bit on what we're spending on it. It is still going to have everything done that's needed doing on it. I've got some rear boot struts arriving today because they're rusty and don't look very good, so they're getting replaced, but I don't see the point in replacing brake discs that are in good condition. It's very easy to tidy up a pair of brake discs if they're in good condition. Again, a little bit of etch primer. We used to mask them up when we were doing them so that the surface where the pads were running didn't get any paint on, but it doesn't really need doing. The pads, as long as you don't get it on too thick, the pads will clean it up very quickly without causing any issues. Again, a little bit of etch primer just helps to stop the corrosion coming straight back through the silver. Also gives good adhesion to the silver as well. You don't need to lather them in primer. Just use the heat gun to send all the silver off. You just want a nice coating on, you don't want to put too much on, because if you get it too thick on the mating areas where the wheel sits or where it sits on the hub, you can end up with brake vibrations. And that is how quick it is to make a brake disc look pretty again. And we'll just leave that one to dry off. The next step, before you put the hub back on, before you put the disc back on, you need to clean up this area.
I need a battery change. Yeah, that's better. So if you don't clean that area up, again, you have a build-up of rust in places, you can end up with the same issue of the disc not sitting perfectly true, which can cause your issues down the line with your brakes. Some of these threads in the hub were a little bit tight when we were putting the nuts in. So we're just going to run a tap down them all. None of them have been cross-threaded. I think it's just a little build-up of corrosion. And what I'm going to do is use a little bit of penetrating oil just to make sure that all the threads do turn nicely. You are supposed to lubricate when you're running any thread taps anyway, but these threads are not too bad. You need to make sure you start them straight on each one. A little bit of lube again. We'll run through this process on the other side as well. Last one. That one's nicely freed up now. Just use the blow gun just to blow anything out of the threads. And then before we put the disc back on, we just want to put the lightest coating of copper grease around the whole mating surface. And it's now time to get the disc back on and line it up with a little screw, which I've dropped, ironically. That's the only thing I didn't want to do when filming putting this disc back on. And then nip that up with a ratchet because we don't want to strip. And there, we've now got a nice clean looking disc which matches the rears. We've got the same to do on the other side, and then get the calipers done. It's now time to turn this into that. After the 45 minutes of outgassing, which is 250 degrees, you can see that 3 of the 4 parts has actually gone quite rusty again, which means it's opened the pores of the metal up and got all the impurities out of the metal. It means for a longer lasting powder coating job. You'll see the rear caliper there. That one looks like it's a newer caliper. It's possibly been replaced by me for the customer who I bought the car off. So that one's a cleaner caliper, but we're going to get them out the oven now, get them reblasted and get them powder coated. We've now got the calipers masked up. They're ready to go in the oven. The carriers are already in the oven. So we'll get these in, get them powder coated, and we'll show you a little bit of footage of us powder coating. Let's get some powder on the carriers. They are now ready. It's now time to actually powder coat the calipers. Trying to get you a closer up shot. Turn the power down a little bit.
We hot shoot all our calipers. So we heat the caliper up to baking temperature. Then we powder coat them and put them back in, and they go back in for 20 minutes. As you can see, got a lovely sparkle on it. It's a really, really nice colour, even if a bit girly. They're going to now take about 20 minutes to bake. Then they'll need to cool off for probably 20 minutes, half an hour. Then we'll get them built back up and get them back on the car.
So while we're waiting for the calipers to bake and cure, I'm going to do the fuel filter, start doing the service bits. You don't want any bits or rust or corrosion or dirt going inside the housing when you split it open. So what I'm doing is I'm just scratching all the loose, some dirt, a little bit of corrosion off the top, and then we'll get the hoover on to clear most of it out, and then that ensures that we're not putting any debris into the housing. So you want to make sure that you don't lose any of these screws which hold it together. Now I'm going to get some cloths and just put them around underneath the filter just to catch any diesel that spills out. You will always get a little bit spill out, and then there's a little opening that you can get a screwdriver in just to split that. Then you should be able to lift that up. In fact, I'm just going to grab the old filter bucket. And drain now in the bottom of there is some bits I want to get out. I don't know how successful I'm going to be at getting them out. At the bottom of the housing, they wouldn't be able to go through the filter. They are, I believe, little bits of rust. Pretty sure a magnet's not going to get them, but we can try. What I'm going to do is try and get them. No, not going to get my hand in. I don't think. No. See if I can get them with a screwdriver. Yeah. Actually, I believe bits of the old filter potentially. It looks like paper filter that's disintegrating. Potentially, maybe some glue off it. But I am managing to get it out. Because while it'll not pass through the filter and won't cause any issues, I would rather it not be in there. Got one piece now that I want to get. There we go. Trying also not to get diesel everywhere.
that has got that. Just going to change the glove. So just check that the new filter is the same size as the old one, which it is. So some cars are a lot easier to start after a fuel filter than others. This one, I'm going to change the seal. If the seal's damaged, like you can see that one has got a split in it, it needs changing. And all the filters come with a new seal. I don't always change the seals if they don't need it, but that one got a split in it. And then you just want to lube the seal just with a bit of diesel, just to make sure it sits in nice. And then close that back up. And then start putting the bolts back in. As I say, on these it's really easy to change a diesel filter. There we go. Just need to clip it back in and make the seal engage. Reason why we lube the seal with a bit of diesel is when you're pushing it in like that, if it's dry, it's likely to split the seal. So then it's just a case of nipping round the bolts. They don't need to be over tight. And then what we'll do, we'll open the unit door so I can start the engine, because we're working with it shut at the moment because it's not the warmest weather. But I don't want to have a car running in here without having the door open. So what we do is we nip all these bolts. As I say, not over tight, just nip them round. Just make sure that they're all nipped. Move these cloths. And just quickly open the door, and then we'll start it and see whether she'll run. So when you've changed the fuel filter on these, you have to turn the ignition on and leave the fuel pump to run. And what that does is it feeds the diesel back into the housing and fills it up and puts the air out of the purge. What I normally do is do it once and then back off, and then turn it back on again, the ignition. Then that should have filled the filter housing up, and then start the engine. Now this one, it started first time and it seems to be running great. Normally, if there is any air in, it'll run for a minute or so and then cut out, and then you'll have to restart it. But I always leave them running for a good 3, 4, 5 minutes, just to make sure that you've expelled all the air and that your fuel filter's not leaking as well. What we always want to check for is any leakage down the side of the filter. As you can see with the light, it's nice and dry. And we'll just check that it's still dry in 5 minutes. So it's nice and dry around the diesel filter, the seal's sealed, we've got no leaks, so now it's time to get on with the rest of the service. So I'm not sure when I last serviced this for the customer. It will be well over 12 months ago, so I think it's been off the road 6 months. The more I'm getting done on this Audi, the more I'm wanting to keep it myself. but I don't think that's going to happen. One screw still in, there we go. It may actually be, filter's not too bad. It's probably not done a lot of mileage since the last service I did for the customer, with it being off the road. Just going to hoover a few seeds out of the airbox. Put some new air filter in. Be careful not to over tighten these screws as you're putting them back in, because they are only going into plastic and they do easily strip. This one's okay. I think it's got one that's a little bit stripped, but the airbox tightens up nicely. There we go. Now I'm going to get the oil and filter done. 19mm spanner to drain the oil. There we go. We always go with a new sump plug. Nice and dry under here, so we don't have any oil leaks, which is good. We like to use MAN filters wherever possible. They're all block approved and very high quality. Just waiting for the last few bits of oil to drain out. When you're tightening your sump plug up, it just needs a nip. There's a new sealing washer on it, that is tight enough. Now it's time to change the filter. You always want to have a check, make sure there's no leaks on any of the injectors or anything like that. Everything looks good. Auxiliary belt looks good. And now it's a case of getting into the filter. Filter's underneath the manifold, so you do need to take one of these bolts out to allow access. Again, smaller size. Be careful when you're taking this in and out because it is going into plastic. So I wouldn't use a buzz gun, and this one is tight. It's been over tightened in the past, which could potentially have been me, seeing as though we've serviced it for years. But there we go. Just got to be careful with it going into plastic. So then you move this out of the way. So that is bolted up there normally. So you're just moving that over to the side. You don't need to disconnect anything. Just move it over to the side, and that allows you then to get in. Just wedge the torch in so we can see what we're doing. And you'll need the correct size filter housing socket. They still are a little bit fiddly to get out. But you can just about get it out without dripping oil everywhere. So the new oil filter is going in. Again, just a little bit tight and fiddly to get in. The seal on this was in good condition, so I haven't changed it. There was no nicks in it, unlike the diesel one that we did change. And again, you don't need to over tighten, just nip like that. You then
can put this bolt back in. And then the main thing that we don't want to forget, because that would be catastrophic if we did, is to put the oil in. So we're checking the Autodata. The grade of oil is VW 507 classification 530, and it only takes 4 litres. We use Autodata to get all the specifications on things like that, so we'll go and get the oil put in. So this is the oil we're going to use. We're using Goldcrest oil in this. It has got the 507 VW classification and it's 530 the correct grade. So what I can see, I don't know if you can see it very well, is it's all quite dirty around the cap. I don't know if it shows on camera, but I'm going to try and clean that up a little bit. We are going to be valeting the whole car again and cleaning up the engine bay. I don't like to have a dirty engine bay, so we're going to spend some time on this one making it look pretty again. This is more than likely just spillage from filling, but I like to get as much of it out as we can and get it clean again. Again, you don't want any debris, any dirt, anything from around the cap going into the engine when you're actually pouring your oil in. So that has cleaned the majority of that out. I am again going to give it a blast of air to be 100% sure. You can see now it's nice and clean around the cap, which is what we're aiming for. Just need to keep an eye on his jug that's filling up over there. I have done that before and left the oil to overfill. For an engine that's done 177,000 miles, it starts on the button, it runs nice and sweet. It has always been well serviced, but it's in really good condition for its year and mileage. We've now got 4 litres of oil, 530 507 grade. So we'll get this in, we'll start the engine again, let the oil circulate and get the filter filled, and then we will recheck the level. It takes 4 litres, so with 4 litres we should be good, but we always check anyway. We'll give it a start again. We'll just give it a couple of minutes just to let all the oil cycle and settle. We'll start giving it a bit of a clean, especially around the brake fluid, because we're going to be bleeding the front brakes through again. Not got any leaks from the oil filter. I'll put the cover back on now. Now check the oil level. If anything, the cleaning I've just done's made it look worse, but it has got a lot of the dirt off it. It'll now be a lot easier to clean and quicker to clean when we valet it. So the oil level, it's about 3 mil under the full. I'm happy with that. It's just under the full, which is more or less where it should be. You can put them up to full, but I always like to leave them just under. We're now starting to build the front brakes back up. Just get a 21mm ratchet spanner to nip these up. These will need torquing up. Again, I'll go and get the torque setting off Autodata. So these are 190 Newton meters. So we'll set the torque wrench at 190, 180, 190. And same for the top bolt.
There we go.
It's now time to build up the calipers. I'm actually just going to make sure that there's nothing in the calipers from media blasting. We blow them out between every stage anyway, but I always like to be 100% sure. So we've got all new parts to put these back together. We need to put the seals back in, which they are. You then need some silicone assembly grease. To lubricate the seal. You want to make sure that the piston slides in nice and free, which they now should. You need to slip the seal over the piston. Just pull it down so that you set everything right at the top. Could use some silicone grease, to be honest. I probably should have done, I will do on the next one, just to set this correctly. In fact, let's put some silicone grease around there as well. So just rub my finger around what we've already greased, and then that will allow me to get the seal where it needs to be got. It should slide on just that little bit easier now, which it has. And with these, you just push the piston in until it seats at the bottom. Now these have like a metal band, so the trick is to get it on the back first, which with a screwdriver through there, you need to be very careful not to damage the seal, but you can hold it on at the back and then pull it down. You may need to find the right size overcup to push it down, but I will try and do it without. But you do risk damaging things. You don't want to grease them under there, because if you grease them, you then have the problem of them coming off once you've put the calipers on. So these really need to be a tight fit. They are always fiddly to get on. I mean, the dealer probably have a tool for doing it. At this point, everything went wrong with rebuilding these calipers. I've done these calipers previously for a few customers, and the seals have always pushed on by hand, and I've not had any problems. These ones must be from a different manufacturer, and as you can see me taking a hammer and a screwdriver trying to tap them on. It basically, I've got a number of different tools, different pressing caps, different rings. I even bent some brake pipe round and tried to make that work to push them on, and I ended up cutting one of the seals and throwing the other one in the bin and using one of the originals on it. So the calipers are back on the car, but I've ordered a kit from Frentech Braking, and they actually supply you a metal application ring, which makes the job nice and easy to fit them back on. You literally just place the seal on as I've done, but then instead of trying to tap it on or push it on, you have a little cup that sits over it, and then you put in a brake caliper spreading tool, and all you do is wind that out slowly on the ratchet, and that will push the seal on into position and make the job a lot easier. So when the kit arrives from Frentech Braking, it should arrive in the next few days, I will do a little short update video on showing you how to use the kit and getting the seals fitted, and obviously getting the calipers back to 100%.
So after fighting with these seals I've decided I'll only use genuine seals in future. I've ended up reusing one of the genuine seals that came off that were in good condition, and that is now on there, as you can see. So we're now using this ATE bleed machine. Set that to 2.2 bar. That feeds the fluid in through the cap. And it's the best way of bleeding brakes. We'll give both sides a good bleed. Then we'll pump the pedal up to bring the pistons out and make the calipers tighter. Then we'll re-bleed again just to make sure that there's no air in. Go and do the other side. You can hear the machine as we open the bleed screw. Obviously the pump speeds up and it's pumping fluid in through the reservoir at the top and bringing it back out from the bottom through the bleed screw. And now we'll give the brake pedal a little pump. The brake pedal's now solid. The calipers are tight on the discs. And we'll give them both sides another bleed. Pressure bleeding brakes is 100% the way to go. It's how all the dealerships do it. That machine was over £1,000. They're overpriced, I believe, for what they do. But they are a really good machine and they're the best way to bleed brakes. Some of the newer cars where you have to use a diagnostic, they're the only way you can bleed them anyway. So that side done. Back to this side. One more bleed. Now we've bled them up. Go on to dust boot on both the bleed screws. Now just giving the calipers a quick clean off of any brake fluid from bleeding. Same on this side. Powder coat will not really be affected by brake fluid like normal paint would, but I still like to give them a clean off anyway. And now it's time to get the wheels back on. So everything's now bled up. I'm going to get the wheels back on. I've decided I'm going to order some genuine seals for the front calipers. I'm not happy with an old seal and a new seal on, so I'm going to order a genuine set and get some new seals on. But for now, calipers are powder coated, the discs are sorted, we'll get the wheels back on, and then obviously at a later date I'll take the calipers back off and put the new seals on. Be very careful not to mark the calipers again. Torque the wheels up to 120. So one of the things we're going to replace tonight is the struts for the tailgate. The ones that are on are in very poor condition. So for me, they need replacing. I have set myself up here with an issue because it won't hold up on one strut. But luckily the new ones should be nice and easy to fit. So you can see the old ones are rusty and split and they're starting to come apart, and I don't want them collapsing, so replacing them with a new set. Again, I'm going to have to hold the boot up because I can't be bothered to get one of the stands we use to hold it open, but luckily they're a nice easy job to fit these and clip in place easily. And again, you can see the rust, it's all split. They probably would have been fine, but I don't want to sell a vehicle which is not right or got something that's wrong with it. So, new pair of struts. There's just another little thing that helps to make the car right. So we've now put the nut covers on just to finish this off. The calipers are now done, the discs are cleaner, everything's looking amazing on the front. As I say, we are going to replace the dust covers on the calipers because I'm not happy with the aftermarket ones that came. But we're now starting to take shape. Just got a pollen filter to fit and then it's home time. We are looking under this foam tray. One plastic nib to take off, little thumb screw, and then another. And then that comes down. That should have been holding up what is a very dirty pollen filter. We're putting a carbon activated one back in. See if we can get it in nice and easy. And then this goes back in and slides and locks in place. That is now holding the pollen filter up. And it's now a case of lining these back up. To put the thumb screws back in. They're just a plastic screw, so you have to be careful with them. It's a bit hard to show on camera this, but that is now turned in there as well. So for the final job on a service, we're going to replace the wipers, which we need to put the car in wiper service mode. So you turn the ignition on and then back off, and then hold the wipers down and you'll see the wipers go up into service mode. Then remove the key and you're ready to go. For this, we've ordered a Bosch set of wipers. The kit is A930S, which is a specific fitment kit for this model. The old wipers, yep, they're the same size. The old wipers are old and grotty. Definitely in need of replacement. And then once you've replaced the wipers, to take it back out of service mode, ignition on, touch your wipers, and they're reset back down to this resting position. So we've had a long day today working on the Audi, sorting out many things on it, but mainly the front brakes and doing the service. Everything's now done. It's ready to take for an MOT, which we're going to get done on the 6th when the MOT lads are back in on our yard. Once it's passed its MOT, we're all good to go. Does obviously need a machine polish and a few bits of bodywork and another valet, and also make the engine bay look a lot prettier than it currently looks, but it's pretty much there now. It is a little annoying that I'm going to have to redo the seals, the outer dust covers on the calipers, but once the genuine one lands from the dealer, we can get them on, and then the job is 100%.
It's a very cold and frosty morning this morning, but we're taking the Audi down for the MOT. We're hoping to get it back today with a pass. I'm fairly confident. We've done a hell of a lot of work on it. Let's see how it goes.
So we've just drove down our yard, down to Volksmark, so doing our MOT for us.
So we have good news, we've got the Audi back and it's a pass. We have got a clean pass on the MOT. The Audi now has a 12-month MOT on it, no advisories, we're all good. Now the MOT's been passed and she's ready to go, we're looking at all the cosmetic things. Just in the process of plastic coating the boot area plastics, which look very tatty because obviously it was used for a builder to put his tools in and sand and things in the boot. So we're going to tidy those up with some plastic coating. The rear centre trim's already out on the stand being done. So I'm going to show you a bit of a before and after. The middle one's already been done, but the outer ones you'll be able to see the improvement. So we've done the rear plastics. They look a little bit fresher. All the scratches and the dirt are gone. Just had a coating of like a texture. So once we've finished cleaning now, the boot will not look so bad. So we've cleaned all the apertures out, as you can see. It's looking a lot cleaner. Simple things, but we've gone around the tailgate area, on the actual tailgate and in the body aperture, giving it a good clean. Obviously we put the new struts on last week. The plastics were all damaged and scratched and horrible, so what we've done with those is we've done a bit of a cheap fix, not something I'd like to do normally, but we've sanded and prepped all the plastics, given them a coat of plastic primer, and then we've just given them a coating of like a textured plastic spray, which, yes, it's not perfect, but it does tidy things up ever so much compared to what they were. They did look horrendous before. Now they look at least a coat of black and the boot area is looking a lot tidier. Partial shelves now back in as well. Everything's looking nice and clean. We've also treated it to a set of 4D GB plates. Not to everybody's taste, but we do like the 4D plates. We make them in-house, so doesn't cost us a great deal to do them. And I just think it freshens everything up a little bit. What a difference a clean makes.
We're now onto the final video of Project Audi. I think it's video 7, part 7. The car's now sold, so we need to get it finished. One of our customers came in and decided that they wanted to buy it. So it's sold, all paid for. We're currently going to do the alignment just to make sure that it's driving nice and straight, and then we've got to work our way around polishing the whole car. We've got a door handle to paint, and we've also got the interior to finally valet. So let's get on with it. As with all alignments, you have to clamp the steering wheel off straight, make sure that it's nice and straight when you're driving. And as you can see, we've now got it set on 0.5mm both sides on the front, with a total toe of 1mm, which is well within the tolerance. Everything's nice and equal. Camber is in tolerance on this side, just on the edge of tolerance on that side, so just in. But there's no adjustment on the camber, so that is what it is. But the car will drive nice and straight and not wear the tyres. As you can see, prior to the adjustments, we were on -4.6 and +3.4. We're now nice and level. So it's always good to get an alignment done. We're now going to get on with the polishing. We're using our Flex Buffer, the new Cartex Rapid 4000 dustless compound, the orange pad. We're now going to start buffing. After buffing, the wings come up lovely. Black always tends to have swirl marks and things. I mean, it's far from perfect. This is the wing that had the PDR repair, but it's certainly got rid of all the scuffs and scrapes. Apart from those that we'll touch in, it's never going to be perfect. It is an old car, but once we've buffed and polished it, it will shine and look really nice.
We're literally on the last thing we need to do. We've got some paint that's been jet washed off on the passenger rear door handle, so we're just going to quickly prep that and give that a quick paint. So one of the main things that you need to do when you're doing a repair like this is once you've prepped it, you need to use adhesion promoter like a plastic primer, otherwise you'll have exactly the same thing happen again. This has been prepped. I've taken it back and feathered out the edges of the black because you'd have an outline of where it had peeled if you don't feather it back further. So it's been taken back with 240 and then I've refined it a little bit with some 500. We're now literally one coat of plastic primer, that's all you need. Because we're not in the booth, I'm just sending it off with a heat gun. That is all you need for that. And then literally, we just build up a couple of coats of primer, and then I'm going to go and mix some paint and get the handle painted, and then the whole thing's finished. We have bagged up the whole car, because as we've just machine polished it all, we don't want to get any overspray on it. That would be counterproductive. As you can see, this is looking nice and smooth now. Doesn't need too much primer on it. I'm literally going to use an 800 prep disc just to go over the primer before we paint. One last coat. Small repairs like this, the heat gun helps a lot. Speeds up your drying times. Just ensures that you can do a fast repair. We're now going to use the camera to get a good colour match. The car's been buffed, so we can take it off the panel just under where we've repaired. Takes 5 measurements. Need to make sure it stays pressed on the panel. Takes 5 measurements to take an average. Then we can go and plug it in a mixing scheme upstairs and it'll mix us the correct colour. Bit difficult when I'm holding the poly up, to be fair. Usually use 2 hands to keep it on the panel because it has 3 feet on the bottom that have to be depressed. There we go. It's always more difficult when you're filming because you have less hands. You also don't want to make yourself look stupid, which I continually do. We will eventually get the 5 readings. There we go. It gives you a rating on the readings. So we've got 4 stars out of 5, which is good. I'll not use anything less than 4. We now input the registration because the job is logged on our system with the registration. Once we've inputted the registration in there, when we dock it on the system, it'll put the code to the correct one. It's a little bit hard to film in here as we've got a light above the system, so it's glaring off it, so apologies for that. But we dock the Digimatch on the TouchMix Ultra. It's then assigned it to the registration number and it's come up with Phantom Black. As you can see, we've got a 4 for a code, 4 for a rating for a mix, which is really good. Anything lower than 10 is blendable. As low as 4, you're going to have a really good match. Blacks tend to be a fairly easy match anyway on most blacks. So let's get the paint mixed and get the handle painted. So just going to feather the primer with a bit of grey scotch. That's enough. Don't really need to prep the primer as it's only just gone on. So as long as you work with it fairly quickly, you don't need to prep it, but I always like to key things up. For this small handle repair, we'll be using our Automotive minigun, the LPH80. It atomises things a little bit finer, so for a small repair like this, it makes the job nice and easy. We'll literally need probably 3 coats of base coat. They've been water based. If you don't use heat, it does take time to dry, a long time. You'll be able to see the shines disappearing as the heat gun's working the water out of the base coat. And then another coat. The heat gun speeds up this kind of job no end. There's no point firing the booth up and running a gas cycle and wasting money for such a small job. But we've got 3 coats of base on now, that should pretty much do it. When you're using water-based paint, you have to make sure that the base coat's fully dry, because if it's not, then your lacquer will just peel off. And then we'll do one, slight more distance away. There we go. Now go and mix some lacquer. It's now time to put the clear coat on the handle. You should always use your respirator when using clear coat. Let's get on with it. We're using Deltron 8177 from PPG Clear Coat. So on this one, you put your first coat on, you leave it about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then put a second coat on. It's a small area smart repair clear coat. It's quite expensive because it's an air drying one, but obviously air drying out here, this is ideal for this job. It's got a lovely finish, just need to leave this to dry. 20 minutes and it's touch dry and we can unmask it and then she's finished. We've got the project car finished, so it's a far cry from when we purchased it. She's now looking nice and sweet, wheels done, brakes done, whole car's been polished. It's definitely made a nice car. We've saved the car from being scrapped. Not that it should have ever really been scrapped. It's just that the money for the repairs was going to be more than what it was really worth if a customer was paying for it. It's been a long project, but we've brought it back from the dead. It's now a lovely car. This was going to be the point where we were trying to sell it, but we've already sold it. One of our customers has decided he wants it. He's already paid for it, so we needed to get it finished, so we've come in today on a Sunday to get it finished. We've done some finishing polishing, a little bit of touch-ups, and she's now ready to go. She's looking absolutely beautiful. It is a 12-year-old car. For a 12-year-old car, she's polished up lovely. As you can see, she's looking stunning. Bodywork's not in too bad a condition. It's polished up nice. We did the alignment as well. So she drives nice and straight. Just need to clean the footwell out again from my feet. But she's turned out a beautiful motor that will go again for years to come. We are now looking for a new project. So if anybody has something else that thinks it'd work on our channel for a project, let us know. Needs to be a fairly desirable car and for not much money, because it needs to work financially for us as well. We're not a monetized channel, so we don't make anything off us videos. We just enjoy doing them. Hopefully eventually we will get monetized, but it's something that takes time. So if anybody has anything that they think we could use, it can be bodywork needed, mechanical needed, combination of both like this one. We can pretty much make anything work as long as the figures work out cost wise. We don't really need to make any money, we're happy to break even on things, but we just don't want to be losing money. So it is finished. Thanks for watching the videos that we've done on this, and watch out for the next one. If you've enjoyed this little video series on the Project Audi, we'd be welcoming anybody to add some comments on what they think of it, see how we've done with it. We'd also be happy if you could subscribe to the channel so you can see future things that we're doing. Subscriptions help us, it helps the algorithm. If you can share us videos, get your mates to watch them, we'd be very appreciative of that. So, it's all done. We'll see you on the next one.